My name is Mike DePurdy. I am a fisherman from Hampton Bays, Shinnecock, and my two primary fisheries during the time period of about April till November is pound nets and fish pots, and usually during the winter time I fish for bay scallops or clams depending on what happens to be working out that year.
Bill Carlin, commercial fisherman. I own a boat, Brianna, and I drag for fish and also pot fish.
My name is William Reed. I fish on the fishing vessel Providence, and I primarily fish with otter trawl.
My name's Mike Bouse. My fishing vessel is the Windsong, and I am a trawler, also known as a dragger.
My name is John Berglund. I have the fishing vessel Mary Elizabeth, and we fish mixed bottom trawl.
My name is Vincent Dam. Vessel name is Fishing Vessel Lady K. We fish for lobsters and we gill net for monkfish and skates.
My name is Chuck Marisi, known as Captain Chuck. I fish trawler gear, and my vessel name is the Fishing Vessel Act 1.
My name is Dave Arapach. My vessel name is Caitlin and Maraid, and I fish trawl gear.
I bought my first boat and my clam digger's license in 2001. I fished on and off part-time for the first couple years and then pretty much full-time since then.
I've been fishing around 55 years.
I've been fishing my whole life. I've been dragging for the last 12 years. Before that, I did some sport fishing, charter fishing. Always grew up on the water my whole life.
About 40 years.
I've been doing this probably about 35 years.
Since I've been 17.
73, 74. When I should have been in high school, I was out here in Montauk, Jimmy Ankle, and did that for a few years. And came out to go tile fishing in 1976, I think. Ever since.
Long time.
Catch blue crabs, horseshoe crabs, weakfish, bunker, striped bass, bluefish, squid, pretty much anything that swims by in the bay. I have both my nets here in Shinnecock, which is right behind me. And our fish pots, we are out in the ocean out of Shinnecock Inlet, anywhere from about 2 to like 3 miles off the beach.
When we're dragging, we catch porgies, fluke, bluefish, sea bass, a lot of variety of fish, squid, mostly in the Long Island Sound, so we have a good variety through the spring and the fall.
Squid, fluke, flounders, sea scallops, whiting, which is silver hake, summer dogs, skates, porgies, mackerel, and lots of other things.
Primarily sea scallops, squid. We do a lot of fluke, sea bass, porgies.
Now we fish for mainly squid, fluke, sea bass, porgies, that type of fish.
We catch monkfish, skates. We do that for probably about 3 months in the season. And then after that, we lobster till about January.
We catch squid, butterfish, mackerel, herring, fluke, flounder, cod.
Scup, squid, whiting, butterfish, fluke, sea bass, ling, mackerel, herring, cloudfish, John Dory's.
Some of the fish that I catch, I process myself for the green market that we do. And the rest of it I ship through the market in New York City.
Most of our fish goes on a truck every night into the city, to the Fulton Fish Market. That is most of it. And then on my end, I also do some green markets and some local markets, trying to get some fresh fish out to people, more so than having to go through the wholesale end of it.
Most of our fish go to Fulton or Fulton Fish Market in New York. It's not called Fulton anymore, it's at the Hunts Point Market. And they're consigned out of Shinnecock. Most of our squid goes to Point Judith, Rhode Island.
Some of our fish go to the city and it goes by truck. And lobsters pretty much stay right here. We deal with Gosman's Fish Market, and they pretty much buy all our lobsters.
My fish get to the market on a tractor trailer at Montauk Fish Dock. Every day, a tractor trailer leaves and goes to the city, and hopefully they end up in somebody's stomach.
My fish end up in the stomachs of hungry people.
I enjoy the challenge of it, and I've been fishing ever since I was young. I always enjoyed being outside and being able to catch something, so it was natural for me.
I was enticed 50 some odd years ago by a lobsterman friend of mine. Went out on a boat with him, made one trip, and he even made the remark, he said, you never know, Phil, you might start fishing someday. And it was within a year, I believe, that I started building lobster pots, and this gentleman, Bert Smith, who had been in the lobster business for years, taught me how to build my first lobster pot. And that started it.
I grew up in a family that were clam diggers, and I can remember in first grade, the teacher going around asking the children what you wanted to be when you grow older. And I didn't say a fisherman, but I said I wanted to be a clammer.
I actually feel I knew at a young age that I was going to be a fisherman. As a kid, little kid, I just wanted to be a fisherman.
I became a fisherman. My father was a fisherman, so I guess I was brought up that way. Let's just say I'm a second generation fisherman. It's kind of all I did growing up, working with him on boats, and that's it. I kind of grew up around it and became it.
It was in my family. I wasn't pushed to be a fisherman or anything. It's just something I've always done.
It's kind of nice. You kind of be your own boss.
It's the challenge, it's the ability to always tweak something to be able to catch a little bit better, to get ahead of your competitors. You can work for as long as little as you want, and like I said, you get out of it what you put into it.
Being a fisherman has its benefits, a lot of benefits. You're independent, you can work as hard as you want, and you can take a day off once in a while, but it's a good life.
We get to taste glory, oftentimes, thanks be to the Lord.
I think the best part about being a fisherman is the adventure. Each day is different. Depending on what you catch is different, the weather's different. There's a lot of variables that keep you ever changing.
The best part about being a fisherman is the independence. They say if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. Sometimes that's true.
We've seen a big lobster die off 20 some odd years ago, and that kind of made us switch. And for myself in the fishing business, I've been kind of diversified, which has helped me. And you have to kind of go along with the changes. I have had to. The lobster and even after the die-off, I still lobstered a little bit. I had enough to be able to do the markets that I do in the city. And but then I had to switch over to primarily fish.
Keeping the boat running, this multifaceted piece of machinery, making sure everything's working smoothly. You know, one thing breaks, you're done. Your day is done, and could be a safety issue too.
Right now, the greatest challenges are keeping up with the regulations. Different gear types, different areas that we can fish, when we can't fish, net size. It's a lot of paperwork that it has to be interpreted. It's just keeping up with the ever-changing rules, I think, is the hardest part.
The greatest challenges to being a fisherman today are, of course, regulations. Keeping up with everything, keeping up with the vessel, keeping up with the crew, the people. The crews are probably the biggest challenge at this point.
Well, the challenges right now, some of the biggest ones is the windmills that we have to deal with. Pretty much if they put that stuff where it's all going to go, we're out of business.
Every day you get on by one of these.
The biggest changes I've seen have been, like I said, when I first got my license, we were still in the last year or two of extremely high quotas for a lot of stuff like black sea bass, fluke, a lot of stuff people really depend on. And after that, we dwindled down to almost nothing. 4 or 5 years ago, for black sea bass, we were working on a 50-pound quota that would last for 2 weeks and then be shut down for 2 weeks and last for 2 weeks and then be shut down for 2 months. It's tough when you can't depend on something steady to plan a whole career around that. And like I said, if you don't have every permit that the state has to offer, you can't your chance to succeed isn't quite as much because the quotas aren't enough to just target one species and be able to just go at that full time.
The biggest changes I've seen, I think, are I'd have to say the rules and the regulations. When we're able to fish, where we're able to fish, how we're able to fish, what gear we have to use to keep up with the ever-changing regulations.
Well, a lot of it's got to do with regulations, pretty much. I mean, they keep taking away, and they don't give us anything back. And when they do give it back, they just give it in dribs and drabs.
Restaurants were shut down, so you know, that is a huge portion of where seafood goes to in New York. So once that kind of collapsed, there was really not much to do for a couple months. You know, the shellfish buyers were limiting people to going a couple days, only bringing a little bit. And then gradually it kind of got better, and then during the summer it picked up.
I don't really know if it's affected it that much. The fishing the prices stayed pretty good. People had to eat. So, I mean, you know, at times it got a little flooded at the start when it first started. I think a lot of people panicked and were even afraid to go outside, it seemed like. But through the pandemic, the last couple of years, it's been pretty normal for us, to be honest with you.
You know, we had work. People still had to eat. I was never lacking in work, and so maybe we made a little less money, but whatever. We were healthy, and it was a tough time for everybody.
At first, the pandemic kind of crushed the industry along with everything else. Restaurants closed, everything closed. So naturally, where's the fish going to go? Who's going to disperse the fish? Since then, since the beginning, I think people have kind of realized that fresh local fish is a little more important, and people have started kind of dispersing on their own through their own local markets. And I think people have been welcoming to that idea more so than the big wholesale end of it, knowing that you're getting fresh local fish.
Well, when it first started, it affected everything because the markets couldn't get rid of fish, so the fish prices were low. The only thing good that has come out of it right now is with the lobster, the prices have come up. So we are getting paid more, but the cost of living in general with the pandemic has gone up. Everything's skyrocketed. Price of fuel, price of gear, everything you go to buy, it's pretty much gone through the roof. So it has to change.
That's about it.
I became a fisherman. That's a good question. Only one witness here.
I'm not a good movie actor.
That's the best part. You want to hear the worst part?
We catch what swims in our fish tank.
We used to just go airmail.
Sorry.